Okay, in this video we're going to go through custom fields, just a high-level overview. So this is more theory than practical usage, but talks about why. So in QuickBooks, or in any database period, not just QuickBooks, when we're wanting to, what the goal is to be able to have some sort of output. Right? So we want to be able to run our financials. We put all the information in QuickBooks so we can run our financials. We need to know profit and loss by job. We make sure to include the job on our transactions so that we can run the report to get the profit and loss by job, right? So the same kind of concept goes for custom fields. So what I do with custom fields with my customers is that I look for, is there a field available that we can use that's already set up in QuickBooks? Right, so if you've seen some of my other videos on sales rep or ship via list or some of these other fields that are already standard lists in QuickBooks, we want to make sure that we use all of those lists first. Okay, but then custom fields can be used for any kind of additional information we're tracking. So what are some ideas that we've had in the past? So one thing that I've had customers set up a custom field for is that they have set them up for different regions, right? So the customer, we have a sales rep tied to the customer. We have a customer type tied to the customer because, they're a wholesale, retail, whatever type of customer. But then they wanted even further to be able to report on regions, Northeast, Northwest, etc. And so we set up a custom field for that. It allowed us to, on the customer center, right? When you're looking at your columns here, custom fields will be one of those fields available to add to your columns of information. All right. And it's also one of the fields when we come in and run financial reports or, different type of reports, it's fields that we can filter by. Now, when you filter by a custom field inside of QuickBooks, right, you have to, so let's say it had Northwest as a region, you have to come in here and still type in Northwest. It's not a multiple choice drop down. You still have to type in, what your options are in here, and it'll filter inside of QuickBooks. But outside of QuickBooks, if we're building a custom report, we can use those in a lot stronger fashion, as well as if you're using the advanced reporting tool in QuickBooks, you'll be able to filter by a lot stronger there as well. Okay, so again, custom fields, the way to think about it is, what is the end result I'm trying to get to, and what data do I need in the database to get to that end result. All right, another place that our customers use custom fields a lot, or we recommend it. So if you watched my video on transferring inventory, this is one of the places we used, but it will be on a sales transaction, on a purchase transaction, on a, again, transfer inventory transaction. We have this find and select now in QuickBooks. And in find and select, you can actually search through custom fields. So on a sales order, as an example, right, let's say I have a, standard house build, and I could use a group item for that, but I don't want it in a group item. I want it, segmented out, all the different pieces that go into a standard house build. So I could set up a custom field at the item level for all of the standard house builds, and then I can search through custom field for standard, right? And it'll pull up for me everything that's on my list that in a custom field says standard. It'll pull all those up for me. I hit select all, and I can mass add it to the sales order. Okay, so it's a way to kind of create a group, but not really using group items. Of course, we talked about how to use custom fields on reports, right? You can filter reports by custom fields. You can't total by custom fields, but you can filter. All right. The other way that I've seen customers use custom fields a lot is that, so let's say I have a customer who sells t-shirts, and I said to them, do you care how many blue t-shirts versus red t-shirts you have on the shelf, or do you just want to know how many t-shirts? And they said, it's such an immaterial product. We don't care if it's red, blue, green, yellow, whatever. We just want to know how many t-shirts are on the shelf. We don't care by what color, because when we ship them out, the color doesn't matter. whatever they are, I don't know. But they didn't care. So we set it up as a custom field because they needed it to show up on the sales order, right? They needed to say, I'm shipping 50 red shirts because that's what the customer is getting. But they didn't care quantity on hand, how many red versus green. So I wasn't going to set up a separate item for them for red shirts, green shirts, yellow shirts, blue shirts. I just set up shirts. And then we counted up how many shirts they had on hand. And then when it needed to be a red shirt, it would just be a custom field drop down that said 20 shirts, and the drop down would be red. Now, of course, I can't inside of QuickBooks then tell you how many red shirts, green shirts, quantity on hand, right? I can't say I have 10 red shirts and 30 green shirts because we're not calculating it that way in the system, but the customer didn't care about it. All they cared about is when they shipped it out that we picked up the color that was being shipped, but they just wanted to know how many t-shirts they had on hand. So again, another example how we can use custom fields to get the data they need onto the sales order or onto the invoice, right? But they don't care anywhere else in the system. They didn't care on the purchasing side. They didn't care on the reporting side, the quantity on hand side. They didn't care what colors and the quantity by color. They only cared about how many t-shirts. Okay, so again, use custom fields because the end result, we can get to the end result that we want, but still have the details in the system that we want. All right. So when you're going and talking about possibly setting up custom fields with customers, right? Step 1, review the fields that are already there. See if we can use one of the existing fields in QuickBooks, right? Because again, the ship via, I can come in here and run a custom transaction summary report and total my columns by ship via, shipping method, right? So let's use the fields that we have available to the max. If it's not available, let's consider a custom field. Okay. Definitely watch our other videos about how to set up custom fields because they are different. There's 2 different levels, one at the list level for customers, vendors, and employees, and then a second at the item level, which is considered the detail level for your items list.